All right. Hey, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon where you are. My name is Jamie, and I'm really glad to see you here today. So, just want to do a little housekeeping, make sure that you can hear me and see me all right. So, if you can, just let me know in the chat. Feel free to drop a quick note, and I can hear you. We can see you fine. We can hear you. Great. Perfect. All right. Seems like everything's working. I haven't broken anything yet. So, since everything seems to be working, let's go ahead and get this show on the road. So, our company, 𝘉𝘂, is a global leader in identity verification and fraud review. In simple terms, we help businesses confirm that the person on the other side of the screen is real, not an impersonation, not a fake identity, and not an attempt to bypass the rules. Now, this training is designed specifically for folks like you, pre-screened applicants who are getting ready for the skills assessment. Now, by the time we wrap up, you should feel confident explaining why identity verification matters, walking through the full review workflow, and applying our decision framework using the checklists that we're going to cover. Now, a quick tip to get the most out of this session: make sure you take short notes, especially on three things. And those three things are: first, the three-layer model. That's core to everything that we do. Second, the red flags that require action, not just noticing them, but knowing what to do about them. And third, how to write a strong reason for your decision, because that's just as important as the decision itself. All right, guys. Now, one thing to keep in mind: our standard isn't about guessing. It's about collecting signals, checking for consistency across layers, and then choosing the right outcome. Now, whether that's approve, resubmit, reject, or escalate. And if something is unclear, we document what we observed and either request better inputs or escalate for a second look. And that's exactly the mindset the skills assessment will measure. All right, so I do see a question in the chat. Can I work only from my phone, and is a computer required? Well, Tom, I appreciate the question. Thanks for asking. Working only from a phone, I would have to say no, because a computer is definitely required. You can use your phone in certain situations, like if you're away from your desk, but the core review work must be done on a PC or a laptop. You're going to need that screen space, the stability, and the ability really to cross-check details very efficiently. It's only going to work better on a computer, right, guys? Also, just a heads up, if you have any more questions, go ahead and hold them until the end of the webinar, all right? We're going to have a whole session dedicated to Q&A, and I'll make sure to get as many as I can, all right? That will keep us on track here. All right, so let's talk about why identity verification matters. Identity verification exists to protect trust and safety in digital services. So if you think about it, businesses need to know their users are real people, right? Not synthetic identities, not stolen profiles, or organized fraud networks. So when verification works well, it supports safer onboarding. It reduces chargebacks and abuse, and it helps legitimate users feel confident that the system is fair and secure. Now, it also ties into compliance. So in regulated industries like finance or crypto, companies often have legal obligations to meet KYC, know your customer standards, and maintain strong controls against fraud. But even outside regulated spaces, the reputational cost of letting fraud slip through can really be huge, okay? Now, look, here's a helpful way to frame your role. You are constantly balancing two risks. On one side, a false concept, letting a bad actor through, right? And this can cause real financial or security harm. On the other, a false reject, right? Blocking a real honest user. That is going to damage the customer experience and it also erodes trust. Now, our process, our checklists, and our layered approach exist to keep both of those risks low by making decisions based on evidence, not assumptions. Now, let's clarify a few foundational ideas. Verification is about confirming someone's identity through a repeatable and auditable process. So, fraud review, on the other hand, is the focused work of spotting risk signals and inconsistencies that suggest spoofing or tampering or synthetic identity or coordinated abuse. So, guys, it is important. A risk case isn't automatically fraud. Okay? Often it's just a case where automation couldn't reach high confidence, maybe because the images are blurry, the data conflicts, or the behavior looks unusual. And that's where you come in to investigate those conflicts and decide what happens next. Now, keep these three definitions clear in your mind, okay? Consistency. Do the images, data, and behavior all tell the same story? Confidence. Do we have enough quality and clarity to verify key details? And contradiction. Are there signals that simply can't be true at the same time? Now, throughout this training, we're going to see how we turn these concepts into practical steps. Triage first, then focused checks, then a clear decision backed by a clear written reason. So let's move on to the verification journey. And let's go ahead and zoom out and look at the full big picture from the user's perspective. Now, typically, a user submits an identity document, a selfie, and key data fields like name, date of birth, address, phone, and email, right? Behind the scenes, automated systems can run quality checks, extract signals, and try to make a fast decision when confidence is high. But manual review kicks in when things get tricky, so like higher risk and lower confidence. Triggers might include poor image quality, mismatched fields, unusual behavior like many attempts, or signals that hint at spoofing or tampering. Now, just to be clear, it's a deliberate safety layer built specifically for edge cases that machines can't confidently resolve. Guys, as a reviewer, your job is to take one of those unclear or risky cases and bring it to a clean outcome. Approve if the story holds together, resubmit if inputs are insufficient, and reject if evidence points to fraud or impersonation. Or escalate if the case is complex or shows signs of a new pattern. Alrighty, now moving on. Automation and manual review aren't competitors, they are teammates. So automation shines at speed, scale, and handling repetitive, clear-cut checks, right? So we're talking about image scoring and basic consistency, large-scale pattern detection. It can quickly approve thousands of straightforward cases, which improves user experience and frees up human reviewers for what really needs attention. Manual review, meanwhile, excels where nuance matters. Unusual but legitimate documents, like regional IDs, for example, cultural variations, borderline quality, or cases where multiple weak signals combine into a stronger fraud picture. Humans also adapt faster to emerging threats. So you might spot a new scam tactic weeks before the system actually catches up. The healthy mindset? Well, trust automation for what it's good at. but don't let a single automated flag override your judgment. At the same time, don't overrule the system on a hunch. Your job is to synthesize evidence across layers, document what you see, and apply the correct decision category based on the full picture. Now, human review is essential because fraud rarely looks obviously fake. So often it looks almost normal, right? AI can score signals and flag anomalies, but it struggles with context, legitimate exceptions, rare document types, or the combined meaning of several small inconsistencies across images, data, and behavior. That, my friends, is where your superpower as a human reviewer comes in: signal synthesis. So, for example, a clean looking ID paired with an address that doesn't make geographic sense, a phone number that repeats across unrelated cases, multiple submission attempts where key fields keep changing. Alone, each might be explainable, but together, well, they form a risk story. So here's a quiet exercise. I want you to pause for about 10 seconds and think, what's a scenario where a seemingly valid document could be risky? Okay? Oh, expired passport with perfect selfie. Great catch, Lena. Exactly the kind of thing to see, right? So the document looks real, but it's expired, and that's a hard blocker. Perfect example of why context matters. Now, chances are your answer probably involves context, the surrounding data and behavior revealing impersonation, synthetic identity, or organized abuse. That's why your role exists and why your written reasons must always be grounded in evidence and not your gut feeling. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the backbone of everything we do, the three-layer decision model. Every solid decision integrates images, the ID and selfie, data, name, date of birth, and address, and phone and email, and third, behavior, this attempts, the changes, the patterns over time. So never make a call based on just one layer. If you only look at the ID photo, for example, you're going to miss data contradictions. If you only check the address, you might overlook spoofing in the selfie. So, layer one, images. Check the document readability, signs of tampering, face match, and spoof indicators. Layer two, data. Ask, do these fields make sense together? Are they realistic and consistent with the document? And layer three, behavior. How many attempts? Do they change key info between tries? Is there repetition across cases? When all three layers agree, great decisions are easier. When they conflict, that's where your value kicks in. Identify the contradiction, gather confirming signals, and of course, choose the safest appropriate outcome. So I want you to practice thinking in this order, guys. What's the story this user is telling? What contradicts it? What evidence supports my final action? Now, your role follows a consistent step-by-step workflow, and you'll see this mirrored in the skills assessment. So take a look at the slide here. As you can see, step one is going to be triage. Okay, this is, you want to read the case summary. Why is it in manual review? What's the primary question you need to answer? Step two is going to be a document review. So you want to check the quality, validity, tampering, and field consistency. Step 3 is the selfie review, and this is going to assess the face match and spoof signals. Step 4 is data review, so you want to verify your name, date of birth, address, phone, email, for realism, of course, and internal consistency. Step 5, OSINT, so this is cross-checks. When needed, you want to use approved sources to validate claims or hunt for contradictions. And step 6 is the decision and reason. Choose your outcome and document it clearly. I'm going to take a quick drink and let you know that I've got 2 reminders for you. First, remember that accuracy comes before speed. You'll naturally get faster as you internalize the checklists. Second, your written reason matters just as much as the button you click. Strong reasons are factual, specific, and describe the signal, where it appeared, and the action that you took. So let's talk about triage. This is your secret time saver, and this is step 1. Before you zoom into pixels or run cross-checks, take 10 to 15 seconds to understand the case context. So what triggered the manual review? Was it image quality, data mismatch, maybe suspicious behavior? Then you should identify the primary question the case is asking you to answer that shapes your whole approach. Next, set a quick plan. So if it's a quality issue, focus on whether key fields are readable and whether resubmission makes sense. If it's a mismatch, pinpoint which fields conflict and whether it's explainable, for example, typo versus different name. If it's behavior-driven, look for patterns. Many attempts, rapid changes, repeated contact info. You get the point. Now, here is a pro habit. You want to separate hard blockers from soft issues. So hard blockers, what does that mean? Well, those are the minor typos, those are the clear face mismatch, the strong tampering, and the major contradictions, right? Those are the hard blockers. Now, the other one is the soft issues. Those are the minor typos, the formatting quirks, right? The slightly blurry corners, etc. Once again, good triage is going to keep you from overreacting to soft issues and ensure that you only escalate or reject when the evidence truly supports it. Moving on, you want to use this checklist every time, okay? It's your anchor for consistency. So take a look. You want to start with quality. Can you clearly read key fields? Do you see the full document edges? Glare, blur, or missing corners often mean you can't reliably verify authenticity, no matter how real it looks. Next, you want to validate the basics, so document type and expiration date. An expired passport or wrong document type is an instant red flag. And then you want to scan for tampering indicators, so unusual fonts or misaligned text or inconsistent spacing, layering artifacts, if you will, or regions that look edited differently from the rest. And guys, finally, you want to check field consistency. So does the name and DOB, or date of birth on the ID, match what the user submitted? A common beginner mistake I'm going to tell you right now is treating poor quality as fraud. So if the document is unreadable but nothing else is suspicious, resubmit is usually correct. But if the document is readable and fields conflict with the submitted data, well, that's not a quality issue, that's a contradiction, and it must be handled as risk. Your notes should be specific, date of birth mismatch between ID and submitted data, document corners are missing, key field unreadable due to glare. Those are some examples. Red flags aren't just weird things, okay? They're signals that demand extra scrutiny or action. So, please, you want to watch out for obvious editing artifacts, inconsistent fonts or alignment, cropped edges hiding security features, too perfect images paired with suspicious behavior, and many attempts changing details. So here's how to use them practically. You want to treat red flags as a trigger to cross-check other layers. If the document looks edited, check whether the submitted data also shows inconsistencies. If the document is flawless but behavior is abnormal, you need to ask, why would a legitimate user need 5 attempts with changing emails? And when documenting, be sure to avoid vague language like looks fake, or instead you want to really describe what you saw, right? Be specific about it. Text alignment irregular in date of birth field, background texture inconsistent, edges cropped, fields appear layered. Once again, guys, you want to remember one red flag can be a false positive. The goal is to build an evidence-based case by seeing whether multiple layers point in the same direction before you choose to reject or escalation. All right? I'm going to grab another drink here. You guys enjoying this so far? Thank you. Appreciate that. We've got a lot to cover, so we're going to continue. Let's roll on with Selfie Review answers 2 critical questions. And those 2 questions are, number 1, is this the same person as in the ID photo? And number 2 is this a genuine attempt or is it spoofed? So for face match, compare multiple features: overall face shape, eye, nose, mouth spacing, jawline, not just one detail. Lighting and angle can trick you if you fixate on a single trait. Now, for spoof detection, you want to watch for cues consistent with screens, prints, masks, or deepfakes. Unnatural edges or halos, flat or inconsistent lighting, warped facial regions, texture that looks printed or pixelated. Also, consider behavior. Repeated selfie attempts, especially when paired with changing data, can signal trial and error fraud. Now, if the selfie is fine, but quality is poor, too dark or too blurred, treat it like a quality issue. Resubmit may be appropriate if the rest of the story is consistent. But if you see strong spoof signals or clear mismatch, well, that's high confidence risk. So you'll want to write your reasons factually. Face mismatch between ID photo and selfie. Selfie shows artifacts consistent with screen replay, multiple attempts. Now, some selfie red flags require decisive action, right? They're not maybe issues. So strong signals will include a clear face mismatch, artifacts consistent with replay attacks, screen or print, deep fake-like warping around the eyes or mouth, and combined with repeated attempts. So these directly challenge the core claim, this is me, so they're not minor, they're central. But, and this is crucial, separate spoof indicators from simple quality problems. Poor lighting or motion blur can happen to anyone, right? The difference? Quality issues are usually random. Spoof patterns often repeat across attempts and combine with changing data or suspicious contacts. So when you see a red flag, choose the check or cross-check very quickly, right? Does the data also contradict? Are there many attempts? Is the email disposable or changing? Does the phone repeat across cases? The combination determines your action: reject or escalate. And always document without speculation. Unnatural facial boundary, screen-like glare pattern, ID selfie mismatch. Then you're going to go ahead and state your action clearly. Now, here's why many fraud attempts fall apart. And it's because attackers focus on visuals and they forget the data story. So images can look convincing, but fraudsters often fail to build a consistent, believable narrative across the name, DOB, address, phone, and email. And that is your advantage. So you want to ask, does this data describe a real person? A premium Manhattan address plus disposable email plus phone from rural Texas plus frequent data changes. Individually, each might be explainable, but together, well, that's a red flag cluster. So real users usually show natural consistency, stable contact info, location signals that align, fewer sudden changes, right? Fraud breaks here because attackers reuse patterns, make geographic errors, or submit details that don't hold up under these cross-checks. Your job is to demand perfection. It's to spot contradictions. A typo, it's going to be normal, right? A typo plus mismatched geography plus repeated attempts, well, that's a pattern worth escalating. Yeah, someone just joked in the chat, my email changes depending on my mood. Okay, that's pretty funny. But look, in verification, frequent email changes are a red flag. Do keep that in mind because it's not about judging someone's personality. It's about whether the data story stays consistent across attempts. Next, we're going to dive into address verification, where many of these contradictions will surface. So here we go. Now, address verification is a 3-level process, and it's one of the best places to catch contradictions. Level 1 is structure and realism. Before you cross-check anything, make sure the address is formatted correctly for the country and looks plausible. In the US, that usually means street number, street name plus type, unit if applicable, city, state, abbreviation, and zip code, right? You want to watch for obvious fabrications like generic placeholders, missing components, or zip codes like 00000. Then you're going to want to do a quick existence check, right? Does that street and number actually exist in the stated city? Mapping tools are your friend here. On to level 2. That is geographic logic. So now ask, does this address logically align with the rest of the data? Does the zip code actually belong to the stated city and state? Do city-state zip combinations make sense? And while we're here, does the phone area code generally align with the claimed region, right? Not a perfect rule because people move, and I get that, but it becomes meaningful when combined with other signals. So if level 1 fails because the input is unclear or incomplete, you want to go ahead and resubmit, and often that is the right move. So if level 1 or level 2 shows impossible combinations, document the contradiction and be ready to escalate depending on what the other layers show. Quick drink. We are moving on now to level 3, okay? And this is the cross-reference research. And guys, the goal here is contradiction hunting, not proving truth. So we use approved public databases like True People Search to check whether the name appears connected to the submitted address and whether there's conflicting address history that doesn't match what the user submitted. Here's what you're looking for. The same name shows strong links to a completely different address or state with recent activity. The submitted address shows unrelated residence, while the applicant's name is absent. Multiple unrelated identities appear tied to one address, possible farm indicator. Age, date of birth signals in records conflict with what the user submitted. Critical nuance. Public records are signals, not absolute truth. They can be outdated or incomplete. So remember, don't write the applicant lied. Instead, write something factual like, cross-check shows this name associated with an address in state X. Submitted address is state Y. No supporting link found for submitted address. Then you want to combine it with other layers, phone, email signals, an attempt behavior, right? Image checks, and decide whether this is a resubmit for clarity situation or an escalation/rejection based on the full evidence. Now, phone verification isn't about proving identity. It's about extracting signals and checking for consistency. So first, you want to check the plausibility. Does the country area code align with the submitted address? If someone claims a California address, but the number traces to Eastern Europe, well, that is a contradiction. Next, consider number type and risk indicators. So specific tools are shared after hiring. Some number types we're going to carry a higher risk in certain contexts, but again, no single trait should decide the case. Most importantly, guys, watch for repetition, okay? A phone number appearing across multiple unrelated cases, well, that's a classic sign of coordinated fraud or reused identities. Combine this with behavior, many attempts, changing emails, same phone every time. You want to document it clearly. Phone signal inconsistent with submitted location. Number repeats across 3 unrelated cases. And always tie it to your action. Resubmit, escalate, or reject based on the full evidence. Like phone checks, email verification is about consistency, not judgment. So let's talk about that. You are using approved tools. Details will be provided after hiring, but you may see signals like validity indicators or disposable email patterns, suspicious naming, for example, random strings, frequent changes across attempts. A disposable email alone is not fraud, but paired with a premium address claim, repeated attempts, and changing fields, well, this becomes part of a risk pattern. So you want to pay special attention to change behavior. Why would a legitimate user rotate emails during verification? If the email changes repeatedly, especially alongside phone or address changes, that is going to be a red flag. Your notes should stay factual. Remember, something like email changed across 3 attempts or email pattern is consistent with disposable usage. And remember to always tie it to your action. Resubmit, escalate, or reject based on the full evidence. Alrighty, we are moving on to behavior. And behavior often reveals coordinated fraud, even when images do look clean. So you want to start with attempts. How many tries? How fast? Multiple attempts aren't always malicious, but repeated retries combined with changing data fields is a classic risk pattern. So track what changes. Address edited twice. Email rotated 3 times. Name spelling tweaked. That's trial and error behavior trying to bypass controls. Also, look for repetition across cases. Same phone in different submissions. Similar email formats. Near identical address structures. These farm signals are often more reliable than any single image flaw. Pro habit, summarize, behavior in one sentence before deciding. So, 5 attempts, email changed twice, address changed once, phone consistent. This is going to make your reasoning clear, and it's going to help protect and detect broader patterns. So when behavior is the main concern, consider escalation, because behavior reflects intent and coordination, not just document quality. Let's talk about OSINT, the open source intelligence. This is a powerful tool, guys, but it must be used carefully and within boundaries. So your goal is not to find everything about a person, but it is to check whether the identity signals are consistent and whether the images and details are being reused across unrelated texts. Typical actions: reverse the image search on the selfie, look for repeated profile artifacts, confirm basic plausibility when appropriate. Critical rule: absence of online footprint is not fraud, okay? Many legitimate people are, excuse me, many legitimate people are private. Maybe they've recently moved or they're simply offline. Compliance is non-negotiable. Use only approved tools and open authorized sources. So never access private accounts. Never contact the applicant. Keep all findings within the approved systems. So when you're documenting, selfie image appears in 3 unrelated verification attempts, not user is a fraudster. OSINT is most powerful as a tiebreaker, used to confirm or challenge a risk story already built from images, data, and behavior. Sorry about that. I think I got something caught in my throat. I should be okay now. So let's go ahead and move forward. Now, you're going to use 4 decision outcomes. Choose the one that matches your evidence and confidence level. Approve. All 3 layers agree. Images are credible, data consistent, behavior is normal. Resubmit. You can't verify due to quality or missing info, blur, glare, cropped edges, but the rest of the story looks reasonable. And reject. Strong evidence-based indicators of fraud, clear face mismatch, strong spoof, tamper cues, and major unexplainable contradictions. And then we have finally escalate, which is the case is complex, pattern-based, or borderline, especially suspected coordinated activity or new fraud tactics. Rule of thumb for new reviewers: if you're unsure and evidence isn't decisive, you need to escalate, don't guess. Your written reason should always tie the action to observable signals. Let's talk about writing the reason. This is not paperwork, it's part of the job. A good reason makes your decision auditable, repeatable, and useful for quality and training. So you want to use this template, as you can see on your screen: signal, evidence, action. So signal is the name, the issue portion of it. Is it a mismatch, a spoof, a data inconsistency? You want to name the issue. Evidence is where you point to where you saw it. So which field, which artifact, which cross-check. And then we've got action. So you want to state what you did, approve, resubmit, reject, or escalate. Remember to avoid vague phrases like seems fake or suspicious. You want to replace them with specifics. So date of birth mismatch between ID and submitted data. Selfie shows screen replay artifacts, or phone number repeats across unrelated cases. Also, avoid overclaiming intent. You want to write what you observed, not what you assume. Cross-check shows different address history, not applicant lied about residence. So once again, guys, clear, factual reasons improve decision quality and help the whole team stay consistent. Okay, so I see a message in the chat here. This seems really difficult. Look, Anna, thank you for being honest. I appreciate it. That feeling is going to be totally normal, okay? But let me reassure you that it's not as hard as it might feel right now. So at this stage, there's simply a lot of information coming all at you at once, right? And it can feel overwhelming. I get it. But look, in practice, the work becomes much easier because you're going to have clear training materials and checklists to follow step by step. And you're going to be getting ongoing support from managers in the team. So you'll build speed and confidence quickly once you start seeing real cases. So please don't worry. We're going to guide you through it, and we're going to make sure that you're comfortable before you're expected to work independently. All right? Great. So work is remote and flexible. You can handle light tasks on a phone, but as I said earlier, a computer is required for full review quality. You're going to need screen space for document details, faster navigation, and efficient cross-checking. Compensation is based, and it's going to be paid per completed task. So it's based on complexity and your productive online time. Pay is weekly. Employment is W-2 with a 1-month probation period. Your benefits include paid days off and vacation, medical insurance, employee coverage, vision included, dental is not included. And the key expectation here really for everyone is quality first. In your first weeks, you're going to be slower, and that's normal, right? Excuse me. We care more about consistent, correct decisions and clear reasons than raw speed early on, right? As your confidence grows, speed and earnings will typically increase as well. So if you're combining this with another job, the most successful approach is stable time blocks where you can focus and maintain accuracy. Your next step is skills assessment, right? So you want to use the link in the chat and sign in with the same email you used for your application. And that's how we match your results to your candidate record. Once you receive the assessment, you're going to have 48 hours to complete the assigned tasks. So please plan your time so that you can work carefully and without rushing through it. During the skills assessment, you'll also see theoretical questions based on what we've covered in today's webinar. So I hope you took notes and you feel confident answering them. If you run into any difficulties while answering, you're welcome to use Google or any other search engine to quickly find the information that you need. That approach is encouraged as well. See, in our work, it's important not only to know the standards, but also to be able to resourcefully find solutions and navigate tasks in non-standard situations. After you complete it, the team will review your results and follow up with next steps. So if you've got any questions or run into any issues, please message our HR representative so we can resolve it quickly. Guys, let's talk about key takeaways, and let's go ahead and recap the fundamentals to carry into every case. So you want to use the 3-layer model: images, data, behavior. Never decide from one layer alone. Quality issues usually mean resubmit, not reject, unless other strong risk signals exist. You want to look for contradictions, not perfection. Right? Typos happen, patterns of conflicting geography, changing context, and repeated attempts are meaningful. Pattern recognition matters, right? So repeated phone, email, address across cases is a major signal. You want to write your strong reasons, signal, evidence, action. Stay factual and no overclaiming. So if you follow these principles, your decisions will be consistent and defensible. And that's what makes human review valuable. You integrate context, you detect new tactics, and you document findings in a way that improves broader fraud prevention. So you want to use this as your mental checklist before the skills test, okay? And here it is. What's the story? What contradicts it? What's my evidence? And what is the safest appropriate action? All right, now it is time for questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. I'm seeing some great ones pop up in the chat right now, as a matter of fact, so thank you so much. I want to tackle some of the most common that I hear from new candidates, okay? One is, how long does one case actually take? And that's a really good question, and it really does depend, guys. I mean, a clean, straightforward verification, you might wrap it up in under a minute, but if there are red flags, mismatched details, or blurry docs, suspicious behavior, these can take several minutes because you're going to need to dig deeper, maybe cross-check with open sources. And if you're just starting out, totally normal to be slower at first. Look, you're going to be training your eye to spot subtle signals. Speed comes with practice. We don't expect lightning-fast decisions on day one. A question from Maya in the chat. When do I actually start earning? Well, that's a great question, Maya. As soon as three things happen, I'll put it to you this way, all right? You pass the skills test, you finish onboarding, and you get access to live classes. In the best case scenario, that could be just a couple of days after you're accepted. So yes, earnings can start very quickly once you're ready. Guys, I also see someone asking about pay. Specifically, it says per completed task, but also $30 an hour. Which is it? Okay, so that's a fair point. Think of $30 an hour as an average benchmark based on typical performance. You'll work during scheduled hours, agreed with your manager, of course. And each case you complete is paid based on its complexity. Simpler verifications pay less, riskier or more detailed ones pay more. Over time, your effective hourly rate should hover around that $30 mark, sometimes above, sometimes below, depending on your pace and case mix. Now let's talk about beginner mistakes, because everyone makes them and it's better to know up front. So the top three that I see, number one is rushing. It's tempting to click approve or reject fast, but missing a tiny detail can have big consequences. Second is writing a vague reason like suspicious ID. We need specific standard-aligned justifications. And third, looking at signals in isolation, right? So one odd thing might be nothing, but three small inconsistencies together, well, that's a pattern. Always look at the full picture. All right, let's see here. So question from Alex in the chat. Honestly, I didn't understand much. This seems really complicated, and I don't think I'll be able to do it. I see your message in the chat, Alex, and let me thank you for saying that out loud. That takes some courage. I totally get it. I want you to know that reaction is very common, okay? Because look, here's the truth. At first glance, this work can feel complex, right? Like it's not for everyone. But that first impression is often going to be misleading, mainly because today you're getting a large volume of information all at once, right? I mean, without the real workflow experience yet, so it can be overwhelming. Look, once you start working with real cases, everything becomes much more structured because we've built support around you. You have clear documentation, you've got step-by-step checklists, hints, and examples, and every new reviewer is paired with a manager who supports you, answers your questions, and helps you improve. And to reassure you even more, we've had people join the zero experience, right? They've got no experience whatsoever, including reviewers in their mid-50s and early 60s who are now performing at top level. And they're at this high level and you know, even moving towards a promotion. So look, this is absolutely learnable. Please don't write yourself off based on how it feels on the webinar right now, because if you have the motivation and you're willing to practice and follow the process, I'm confident that you will succeed here. Another question is, which cases should I escalate? Anytime you feel uncertain, okay? Seriously, if you see strong risk indicators but aren't 100% sure, if info is missing, or if you spot something totally new or weird, you want to escalate. It's always better to ask for a second opinion than to guess. So remember, guys, quality over speed, especially early on. Okay. 𝗕𝗫𝘀𝗀𝘀𝘀𝘀𝘀. Raj just asked, can I combine this with another job? We get this from time to time. And yes, Raj, many people do. Okay. The schedule is flexible with your agreed hours. Just keep in mind, while you can check notifications or do light tasks on your phone, real case review will require a computer. So you're going to need screen space, that stable internet, the focus. So the phone only is not going to cut it for your core work. And I mentioned that a couple times throughout the presentation today. But about probation, it lasts 1 month. Okay. So during that time, we're closely reviewing your decisions, your reasoning, and whether you're following processes correctly. So don't worry. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing you understand the standards and are coachable. That's the most important thing. Finally, a question that says, is this job legal? Very important question, but yes, we operate strictly within identity verification compliance frameworks. We only use data the user voluntarily submits, their ID, selfie, and form fields, and supplement with open source or approved verification tools. All data is confidential, access is role-based, and we follow strict internal security and privacy policies. Plus, you're going to get official W-2 employment, right? You're a W-2 now. Clear payroll, benefits, and full transparency. We're not cutting corners. We are building trust legally and ethically, guys. All right. Now, look, I know that's a lot. It's completely normal if you still have questions, and I'm sorry if I wasn't able to get to all of them today since our time obviously is limited. But once you pass the skills test, you're going to be paired with a manager who will walk you through everything one-on-one and answer any remaining questions. Okay? Oh, all right. This is super clear. Thank you from Priya. Priya, finally, a company that explains the why. From Jordan, thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, we're trying our best here, you know, but that really does mean a lot. So thank you both for your comments. Knowing the why is half the battle, guys, right? I'm glad it all came through. So look, in reality, there's going to be a lot of questions. I've answered pretty much the main ones here that we have. And, you know, I just want to say that if you know, I keep going through every single question, our webinar would pretty much never end, right? Or would be a lot longer than intended. So we want to keep this brief, to the point, kind of give you an overview. If you've got any more questions before you start the assessment, please feel free to message our HR manager, and they'll be happy to help you and answer any questions that you have. Well, congratulations, you have completed the training, and at this point, you should understand why identity verification protects digital trust, how the verification journey works, how to apply the 3-layer decision model with practical checklists. You should also feel comfortable with the 4 outcomes: approve, resubmit, reject, and escalate, and with writing clear evidence-based reasons. So you've learned how to handle documents and selfies, how to evaluate user-submitted data, including deeper address verification and contradiction hunting. So also how to interpret behavioral patterns, and how to use OSINT safely within compliance boundaries. So once again, your final step is the skills assessment. You want to take your time and use the same email from your application when accessing the test link. After you successfully pass the assessment, you're going to get access to training materials with real-life examples of fraud attempts and improper KYC verification submissions, complete with photos and step-by-step explanations of what you're going to be doing in the role. So once again, guys, we look forward to reviewing your work and hopefully welcoming you to our company. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.